Welcome to the Student Ministry Podcast. My name is Steve Cullum, and I'm so excited for you to be here for episode 35 of the Student Ministry Podcast. Here we are again with another great episode, and we have something in store for you. Today, I have 11, I believe, if I remember correctly, if I counted correctly, I think I have 11 different interviews today, and all from the National Youth Workers Convention, where I was just a couple weeks ago. But before we jump into any talk about the NYWC, I wanted to thank our sponsors for the Student Ministry Podcast. Today, we have sponsors from both WorkCamp NE and the National Network of Youth Ministries. First up is WorkCamp NE. Many of you have been hearing me talk about this for many times, maybe 30-something episodes. They have been a long-time sponsor of the Student Ministry Podcast, and we're so grateful for them. And here's the deal, guys. If you are looking for a worship experience that involves both serving and getting out and connecting with other youth workers and music and worship in that way, but just an overall awesome experience for you to, and I say worship on purpose, like it's a worship experience for our students to go out and serve and care for others and connect with other churches and worship God together in the evenings and all throughout the day, both with their devotionals and all these different things. WorkCamp NE is an amazing organization that just does all of that for you. And so if you're looking for that kind of an experience for your students, check out workcampne.com. That's WorkCampne.com. And here's the deal. They also do private events and private trips. So if their summer schedule doesn't work out for you, make sure you contact them, because they'll also create a custom event for you. Just make sure you contact them. Also, we want to thank National Network of Youth Ministries. Many of you have been doing student ministry alone. You just have, because that's the nature of it so many times. We do this alone. Most of you guys, I just know, because the stats are at small churches and rural areas, and you feel like you're not connected at all with any other youth workers. You feel like you're going at it alone. You feel alone, and it's lonely out there in ministry land, especially in leadership and all those different things. Make sure you check out the National Network of Youth Ministries website, youthworkers.net, and find a network near you and connect with other youth workers. If you haven't found any, start one yourself. Youthworkers.net website is so great for equipping you and equipping others to start networks and keep them going, because the stats show that people stay in ministry so much longer when they have a network of support around them. So make sure you check out the National Network of Youth Ministries and connect with other youth workers in your area. We're so grateful for both WorkCamp NE and the National Network of Youth Ministries for sponsoring this episode of the Student Ministry Podcast. And with all that being said, let's talk about the National Youth Workers Convention this year. It was my first year going, and I've never been. It's always one of those things that I wanted to do and wanted to go to, but it just never was possible. And this year, I've been connecting with Download Youth Ministry, and as many of you know, I've been blogging for Orange for quite a while in the Orange Conference and Orange Tour and stuff like that. And so I was talking with DYM, and if you don't know, Download Youth Ministry and Orange kind of came together to purchase Youth Specialties, who puts on the National Youth Workers Convention earlier this year. And when they came together, that opened up some connections, because I didn't really have any connections with Youth Specialties before. And all of a sudden now I know a lot of people with DYM and Orange. And so I was asked to blog and do social media for them. And so I did. And so that kind of opened the door for me to finally go to the NYWC, and it was in St. Louis this year. And so which was kind of cool, because my family is somewhat near St. Louis, so I was able to see my family for a couple days as well, and just get into all this thing that I'd never experienced before. And one of the cool things that I noticed right off the bat is that there was an immense honoring of the past of Youth Specialties and NYWC in the past. DYM's co-founder Doug Fields showed up with this like goat shirt, like the greatest of all time, the GOAT shirts that a lot of times are given to athletes and different things like that. They have their face on it, but it had Mike Yaconelli, his face on it. And apparently those shirts sold out so quick. And I didn't even actually get a chance to get one. But back in 1968, Yaconelli and his friend Wayne Rice co-founded Youth Specialties, and so Doug kind of honored him at the very beginning, and there was a lot of honoring of the past of Youth Specialties, which did give me like a lot of I guess comfort. I know DYM, I know Orange, and I think they're going to do a good job, but it was just really evident that they wanted to honor the past and also look forward to the future. So that was really cool. They did a lot of that throughout the time. One of the cool things that we did at NYWC this year is they instituted this Youth Ministry Hall of Fame, and two of my volunteers were honored and inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, Mike and Mary Kalachi, and they are so great. One of the things that I have been blessed with so much by God in this new ministry here in Colorado was stepping into a team of volunteers that are dedicated to these students and the families. There's been a lot of turnover in the youth ministries before me, but one of the cool things is that a lot of our volunteers have been there for years and years, and Mike and Mary have been serving for over 35 years in student ministry at this church, and they have just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that they've been able to bring into this ministry, and I lean on them all the time, and it's been so cool to partner with them and work alongside them and learn from them, and then to see them inducted into this Hall of Fame, have their story told in front of all these different youth workers, hopefully inspiring them, because we never know, right? Like, we ask people to volunteer all the time, and you don't know like what their future is. You know, you might have a Mike and Mary in your church. Maybe you do. Maybe you have someone that's been serving for 40, 50 years. That's awesome. Bless them, honor them for what they've been doing for those students over the years, and lean on them because they have so much experience and wisdom through the years. I'm often going to Mike and Mary just asking them, okay, have we done this before? How did it go before? What do you think about doing it again? Or should we never do that again? And how did the students react last time, and how'd you react last time, and that sort of thing. They're just such a wealth of cool information and knowledge and wisdom, and they love the students. And so it was really cool for me to witness Mike and Mary being honored in the Youth Ministry Hall of Fame, alongside people like Marv Penner, who has done some awesome stuff within the youth ministry world in Canada. It's been so cool to see what Youth Specialties did this year at the NYWC. I also wanted to talk about some of the other connections that I had. It was really cool again to work with Download Youth Ministry. I worked a lot of their booth this time, in addition to all the blogs and social media and stuff that I did for them. If you haven't followed any of my blogs and stuff, make sure you check out stevecullum.com. There's a lot of posts there, some varied different kinds of posts about NYWC this year. So you can see, like, I have a thing full of quotes. I have a thing like kind of a recap of the entire thing. There's a video from what we did at the very beginning, kind of have their opening number sort of thing. It's a song and everything. It's kind of cool with the skit guys, and just several different types of blogs there. So hopefully you can learn more about what happened and everything. Also worked a lot with Orange and got to connect with them. It's been really cool to be connected with them over the last 10 years. So that was great. Connected with the National Network of Youth Ministries. Our sponsor was able to connect with some of the people that are on staff with them, and just hear what God is doing around the world to unite youth workers. Also got to meet up with my old youth ministry professor from Lincoln Christian University and talk about what life is like still on the campus, and these new batch of youth pastors that are coming up and being trained. Connected with Colorado Christian University, which is a cool connection that I was hoping to make anyhow, and we got to connect there as well. Got to meet some new and old friends. One of my best friends who does ministry, who's actually been on this podcast before, Dan Voles, met up with him. He's still doing volunteer ministry there in Illinois. Got to connect with a friend of mine who does works with Lifeway, and also does some work with kind of a gaming and nerd culture blog and site that I work with from occasion called Love Thy Nerd. And it's just really cool to connect with a lot of people. And some of those connections did some interviews for me. Like I said earlier, I had 11 different people within the youth ministry world that decided to go ahead and share their insights of what God was actually doing in their lives over this weekend. And it was great just to hear some threads, some common threads, kind of just making their way through all their different answers. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to open that up to them, kind of play one after another just so you guys can hear what God was doing in their lives. And then we'll close up at the very end with a few kind of last thoughts of my experience at the NYWC this year. So here we go with the interviews. I hope you enjoy. All right, what's your name?
My name is Brian Richards.
All right, cool, Brian. And where are you serving right now?
So I'm in full-time youth ministry at Germantown United Methodist Church right outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
All right, cool. And this is your fourth time at the convention. So what's God been teaching you this year at the convention?
So one of the things I've definitely noticed this year at the convention is an emphasis on diversity, and specifically featuring and highlighting people who work in urban youth ministry. Coming from somebody who was truthfully born and raised in the suburbs, that was something that I loved seeing an emphasis on. And so from some messages that we heard in Big Room and even some of the breakouts, I would like to say that really I would say stirred my heart for a need for diversity in the church, especially a lot of the churches that are around my area. So that was one thing that I definitely I would say have a heart for, is making sure that the church is inclusive of pretty much everybody. So that could be diversity in race, it could be gender, it could be anything. So that's been really great for me to see highlighted this weekend. I would love to just kind of take that and echo it back home.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
All right. So what's your name?
My name's Daniel.
Cool, Daniel. And where are you serving?
I'm serving at First Baptist Church of Waldoboro in Maine.
All right. Cool. So what's God been teaching you and showing you this during this event?
So I think the overall thing he's been teaching me at this event is our role as youth volunteers and youth pastors with the youth to not just be their teachers, but to train them and give them chances to lead and have opportunities to develop leadership roles in their faith, to share the gospel and all that. So overall, just the view that it's not just teaching, it's training. So it gives me a bit more of a focus on what my role is in youth ministry. So.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So what's your name?
My name is James Mitchell.
And where are you serving right now, James?
I serve in Duncan, Oklahoma. It's southwest Oklahoma. On the edge of grass, as my kids say.
Nice. So what's God been teaching you, revealing to you this weekend?
And really two things. Mainly, number one, don't be afraid just to be who I am. I'm 41 years old, about to be 42. And it's easy to get into that little bit of that comparison game with younger guys and think that you're kind of an old hat and you're sort of you can't relate to the kids. But then there have been a lot of times this week where that's been driven home, that being genuine, who you are, is what kids are looking for. They're looking for your presence, not as much like your cool personality. At least I'm finding that as being an old guy. The second thing, though, is really to stop. Just literally to take time to stop and take care of myself. This is going to sound really bad, but I've made it to one breakout session this whole time because I've been just going and sitting and reading stuff that I've been meaning to read for a while. And all of the things I've been reading have been about stopping. So just to take a moment to stop, take a deep breath, take things in. And so it's, I'm just really kind of chilled out, really relaxed now, which has been awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
All right, no problem.
All right. So what's your name?
My name is Matthew.
And Matthew, where are you currently serving?
I serve at the Church of God Holiness in El Dorado Springs, Missouri.
All right, cool. And what has God really been revealing to you over the last few days?
This weekend, God's really been drilling into me that the importance of just handing ministry over to students and putting it in their hands and trusting them with it, and the fact that they won't let you down. That's good.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. So what's your name?
My name is Sam.
Cool, Sam. And where are you serving right now?
I am serving at Apex Students in Trucksville, Pennsylvania, which is 2 hours north of Philly.
All right, cool. And this National Youth Workers Convention, what has God been teaching you over the last few days?
Well, one of the coolest things that I learned was that session about middle school ministry and how they're like this misunderstood group of kids that are like in a really unique stage, and how to like equip small group leaders, which is me. I'm a middle school girl small group leader. So, and she said one of the things that she does is makes like her parents, not her parents, but the parents of the kids, and then like the small group leaders and the other leaders go through like a series of questions to ask themselves to better relate with the junior hires. So like some of the questions are: describe yourself in middle school, describe your social status, fill in the blank. When I was in middle school, I was too much blank and not enough blank. Describe your room, describe your relationship with your parents, and it brings you back to yourself in middle school, puts yourself back in their shoes, and gives you more like empathy and understanding toward kids that might otherwise just be like really annoying and crazy. So it was great. It was good to like be reminded of those things and have practical steps to better equip small group leaders for junior hires.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
So what's your name?
Zach Ramsey,
And Zach, where are you serving?
Lincoln, Illinois, Lincoln Christian Church.
All right, cool. And what has God been teaching you or reminding you or showing you this weekend at the convention?
I just think it's been very powerful and humbling to realize that almost everybody in this, 5,000 people struggle with the comparison game. And, it doesn't matter if you're small church, big church, you're a public speaker, you go around or you write books, that we struggle staying in our lane. We struggle with trying to look at other people and what they do and not realizing that what the great gift we have in front of us that God's placed us in, and able to serve and impact the people around us. And that's a great privilege. And I think a lot of times I know that I struggle with looking at different churches around our town and different churches around Illinois and going, oh man, I wish I could do that, or I wish I could do that. But realizing that there's a lot of amazing things I can do for God's kingdom right in my backyard, and we are doing them. And that's just encouraging. And yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, man.
So what's your name?
Ashley.
And Ashley, where are you serving right now?
I'm in Queens, New York at St. Joseph Church.
Okay, cool. And so what has God been teaching you over the last few days of the convention?
He's teaching me that even in the midst of my brokenness, that he's willing to fill me and supplement what I think I lack. And if we just follow the light that he's already placed in front of us, that he'll do the rest, that you don't have to have a plan from A to Z. Let him work in the in-between, and you'll see miracles, and it'll even heal you. And allow your kids to minister to you, allow them to lead, allow them to grow in their faith and what God is trying to transform, not only in me, but in them also. So it's just been a domino of just push for God, push, because he's already gone before you. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So what's your name?
Jim Purtle,
And where are you serving, Jim?
El Dorado Springs, Missouri, tiny town, southwest Missouri.
All right, cool. So what's God been teaching you over the last few days?
I think for me, it's been the certainty of my calling, that God knows me, that he loves me. And obviously, I've been doing this for 16 years, and that's hole in the head, dumb stuff that I should know, but I am where I'm supposed to be, and Jesus actually loves me. It's just a big reminder that is not too profound, but on the other hand, really is. So that's
Cool.
it.
Cool. Thank you. What's your name?
Hey, this is Todd Parridge.
And where are you serving right now?
New Hanover United Methodist Church, just outside of Philadelphia.
All right, cool. And what's God been teaching you this week?
And I'll tell you what, that last session, Doug Fields was talking about, that quote, in the midst of doubts, God reminds us, I'm with you. And, just obviously not something that's new information, but such a great reminder. I just thought that was a home run, and, I'm gonna camp out on that for a bit going home.
Cool, thanks. All right, so what's your name?
Hey, I'm Kylie Campbell.
And Kylie, where are you serving currently?
I'm in Burleson, Texas.
All right, and what has God been teaching you over the last few days here?
Well, he's taught me so much, and my favorite part is just connecting with old friends and hanging out with them. It's so good for the soul just to be around people who love what you do and hang out with kids that you do and get your crazy life. One of my favorite classes was by Ashley Bohink, She's with Rethink Group, and it's about discovering what volunteers really want. They want to follow a great leader, and something really powerful to me was when she talked about owning your youth ministry and not being a renter. To own means to increase your value, and it's long-term, and to rent means having no investment or short-term. And I think that was really powerful for me to make sure I'm owning my ministry, and that my students can sense that, and my volunteers can sense that I'm in there for the long term.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your name?
I'm Zach Walker.
And where are you currently serving?
First United Methodist Church in Colorado Springs.
All right, cool. So what has God been teaching you or revealing to you over the last few days?
So what's been really awesome about this whole experience is that I'm only 24, and I've probably only been in this game, I guess, for about 6 years or so, and it still feels like it's brand new to me. I've only been full-time staff for 1.5 years, and so with all that, I mean, there's a lot that I feel like I have yet to learn, and a lot of things that I have yet to experience. And so because of all of that, coming to a place like this, I'm surrounded by so much experience, and so many stories and so many things that just relight that hope, re-give, and just give and give and give over and over again. And these people that are here, these are my people, is kind of a slogan that gets thrown around a lot. And they are more than willing to share and that love and give that hope, because that's what this place is all about, and knowing that we're all youth workers and that we're all in this for a much bigger purpose than just the day-to-day. So it's been good. It's been really good.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I hope you enjoyed that glimpse into the NYWC from what God was doing in the lives of a bunch of youth workers this year. There's so many. I think there was like 5,000 of us there. So this is just a small sampling of what God was doing in the lives of these 11 different youth workers. And for me to kind of cap this off, I just wanted to share a little bit of what God kind of shared with me that over that weekend and what He was showing me. I think throughout the entire conference there was this thread of unity that seemed to like permeate everything that was talked about. From the very first talk, Robert Madu and Larry Acosta and Kara Powell, they seem to like share this vision of how we need to not compare ourselves. We need to go beyond ourselves. We need to share our ministry with other people. We never know who we're going to impact, especially in this next generation. Like we have to be able to think beyond ourselves and stop comparing and start working together, both within our church and outside of our church as well. Joe Saxon hit this like straight on when she was talking about the idea that we need to pursue unity and diversity in our ministries. One of the cool things that she said and challenging things that she said was, does our ministry team reflect our community? Which is a great challenge. Ryan Leake has just been awesome. Every time I hear him, I'm just like quickly jotting down quote after quote. And he suggested that we need to be open and present for one another. We need to be able to create this environment where we can actually do that in our ministries and be open, because we encourage our students to, but how often can we be open and honest with each other? And we need to be there for each other as youth workers. Ian Cron talked about the Enneagram, and if you're unfamiliar with that, you can check out a lot of his stuff, but he talked about the importance of knowing ourselves and others. If we're going to work together, we need to be able to know ourselves, and we need to know other people around us. And then it kind of wrapped up with Doug Fields and Tim Timmons and Tom Shefchunas talking about how we need to have this focus and clarity about our calling, because that's what it's all about. It's not about all this other stuff that kind of gets in the way and distracts us from where we should be thinking, where we should be going in youth ministry, but it's all about our calling and why we did this to start with. And so I'm so grateful for all these different speakers that are pouring into different aspects of this central message that we need to be unified and together. We need to start putting aside all these petty differences, and we need to look past all the things on the surface that can separate us and we need to stop comparing ourselves and our ministries to each other, and we need to start becoming the people of God that He has created us to be. Because if we figure this out, if we start doing it and we lead the next generations behind us to do the same, we're going to be able to unite, and we're going to be able to do what Paul says in Ephesians chapter 4 about how he says that we need to make every effort to keep ourselves united in the Spirit, binding ourselves together with peace. And that's what it's all about. So if we're able to do this within the youth ministry world, and we're able to do this with our students and the generations that are coming after them, it's going to be such a different world in the church, and we're going to be able to really, I think, unify the church in our world today and in the next generations, and things will drastically change. So today, youth worker, my challenge to you, and this is a little different than a normal podcast, I apologize, but my challenge to you is, are you ready for that? John 17, Ephesians 4, 1 Peter 3, Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 1, and so many other scriptures tell us that we need to unite. Are you ready to unite? If you are, let's start doing it. Let's get out there and unite. That's what this podcast is really all about. I love talking to other youth workers to hear what God is doing around the world, to hear what He's doing in other ministries, because we are in this together. Like we're a united team, and I love hearing what God is doing on these other teams, because when they're succeeding, I'm succeeding, and more importantly, God is succeeding. God is doing some awesome stuff in this world, and it's so cool to hear those stories, to hear what He's doing in the lives of other youth workers, and to feel united in that. So I want to thank our sponsors for this podcast, WorkCamp NE and National Network of Youth Ministries. Make sure you check them both out. Youthworkers.net if you want to connect with other youth workers in your area, and WorkCamp NE if you're looking for a mission worship experience for your students. We are so grateful for their sponsorship of this podcast, and we're so grateful for you for tuning in each month to hear these stories, to listen to them, be praying for these people, and we're praying for you. We love what you're doing for youth ministry. We love what you're doing for students and the next generations, and we're just so grateful for all you do for God's kingdom. And until next time, may God bless your ministry.